I didn't find out for a while that I had psychosis, or at least that I had schizoaffective disorder. I actually had an entire episode in high school that nobody really noticed, or at least paid any mind to. It wasn't until my second episode that people realized anything was wrong at all. I got misdiagnosed with bipolar type 2 when I was a teenager, and it was pretty clear that I had like some mood problems and behavioral problems. No one really thought it was, psychosis, but it did mostly present as a behavioral thing, partly because it's easy to call someone like a moody teenager when they're having symptoms, like negative symptoms, of not really leaving the house, not really showering, isolating, not talking to your friends. For me, some of the positive symptoms even looked just like I was a moody teenager, like going wandering from my home because the walls were shrinking in on me and they just thought I was being a dramatic runaway, stuff like that. So no one really caught on. I was kind of aware that something was going on. Like, I was hearing things, I was having auditory hallucinations, and I was still like cognizant enough to know that these were hallucinations. I didn't know really what a hallucination was, but I knew that hearing voices was not normal. And I ultimately asked my parents to take me to the hospital when it got to the point that I was having delusions of harming myself and killing my dog. I didn't understand that. I didn't get delusions, so I didn't know why I was believing things that clearly weren't true. There was a part of me that was aware and was sane enough to realize these beliefs weren't true, but there was just as strong a part of me that believed in the beliefs. So I got to the hospital. They didn't really believe me. They kept the diagnosis as bipolar. I sort of continued on with my life as if it never even happened. It wasn't validated, so clearly I was wrong, right? Like, I wasn't psychotic, even though I came in telling them I felt psychotic. It's easy to discredit teenagers, especially when, behavioral problems are part of puberty or something like that, right? Anyway, my second episode, when that came about, it was actually the result of some malpractice, medical malpractice. My psychiatrist was basically treating me like a guinea pig, had me on a dangerous combination of medications, and when I told him I didn't consent, he made me. So I had to keep taking them. He had my mom force me to consent. It was a whole thing. So this guy was a shithead. Anyway, I went into a really bad episode that was sparked by his malpractice. It was really bad. I did not have awareness in this one. Like with the first one, I did have enough awareness to know that I was having weird beliefs. I didn't know they were delusions, but I knew I was thinking things that were weird at the very least. And in this one, honestly, I thought I was fine. There's this thing about going psychotic where when I'm psychotic and clearly, losing my mind, I think everyone around me is crazy and I'm fine and I'm the sane one and I make perfect rational sense. It's all of you who are crazy because you guys are in some weird ass reality that's not anything like mine, so there's something wrong with you. My reality involved, hallucinating evil nuns and things like delusions of being set on fire, like really violent stuff, really scary stuff. It went on for quite a few months before I did get like taken care of. Ultimately, what happened is I was wandering a lot. I tend to wander a lot when I'm psychotic, and I would get picked up by the police. It happened a few times. They took me in and they told my mom, you really need to take her to the hospital. This is not what you think it is. There's something else going on. My mom found me very annoying at this time. She thought I was talking really fast and I was erratic and I didn't make any sense, and she found it very annoying. Thanks, Mom. Anyway, I did get help and I got a proper diagnosis as schizoaffective. And you'd think that would do something to me. You'd think that would change me in some way. Like, you'd think after an experience like that, I would have been transformed in some way and I would never want to go back to that place. But I kind of rejected the diagnosis and I didn't believe it. And I just went on as if nothing had happened. I didn't think it would ever happen again. I just told myself it was medical, it was because of this doctor, and it wasn't. I didn't believe it. I did go into another episode. I think I had a couple episodes after that before I finally got stable. The next one was really, 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 really bad. I can't even really describe a lot of the things that happened, but as a result of the third episode, which was very traumatic, I struggle with a lot of triggers. You know, I can't watch a lot of movies and shows because a lot of it is very triggering. So I mostly stick to like kids shows, which sometimes are still triggering, even kids shows. I struggle with like eating foods because I used to think that I was eating like poop or human flesh. I struggle with certain movies. I don't want to say the names of them, but they involve some gory, like medical trauma, gory, just gore, like, because I thought that happened to me. I did marry a man that I didn't know. I married a stranger and he was a sociopath, like clinically a sociopath. I'm not stigmatizing that. I'm not saying that to be malicious. I'm saying that because he is diagnosed as a sociopath, antisocial personality disorder. It was a very abusive marriage. I did get an annulment because I met the criteria as having been mentally incapacitated. I was in no shape to be getting married, let alone to a stranger. I was homeless. A lot of stuff happened and it was really bad, and the recovery was really bad. It took me like 18 months to like fully recover, and I had to relearn how to talk. I couldn't talk anymore. I had to relearn how to read. I had to relearn how to draw, and I'm an artist, so that was very hard. I went from drawing at the skill level I have at the age of 30 to drawing at the skill level I had when I was about 10 years old. I regressed a lot. Anyway, I've accepted it now. Like, I've accepted that I'm schizoaffective. I wish it hadn't taken what it took for me to believe it. I'm like thoroughly traumatized. Sometimes it's hard to believe this is even my life. And it's hard to believe these things even happened because technically they weren't real. Like, they didn't technically happen, they weren't real. But it's funny how you can have trauma and PTSD from something that technically never happened and go to therapy and work through trauma about things you saw that weren't even there. Mind-blowing, really. So that's an introduction to my schizoaffective disorder and basically what's gotten me to this point. Oh, and ultimately my last episode was very brief because at that point I had accepted the diagnosis and I was well aware enough to catch it before it got too bad, so yay me. Anyway, this is my first official video on this channel. No one seems to watch my videos, but that's all right. They're mostly for me, I guess, at least for now.